My name is Zoe, and I'll be talking about Kathleen Booth's personal life. Kathleen Booth, born as Kathleen Hyla Britton, was born in Stourbridge, England, on July 9th, 1922. She was the second eldest of three siblings and lived a fortunate and collegiate life. Booth was a hard worker and obtained a higher education with the help of a scholarship, as she attended and graduated with a bachelor's in special mathematics in 1944 and later in her life earned a PhD in applied mathematics in 1950 at the University of London. Booth's early career was comprised of creating tests on material used for aircraft manufacturing during World War II. Her daughter is quoted saying that Booth gave thanks to the war for opening the door for women to pursue jobs that men would usually perform. After the war, Booth would then join a research group where she would meet her husband, Andrew Booth, whom she would later have two children with. Both of them would later leave the group and travel to the U.S., where they would work at Birkbeck College from 1946 to 1962. During her time at the institution, Booth would help expand the development of computer, as she would go on to produce three machines: the ARC, the SEC, and the Apex. As well, Booth was the first to write the assembly language and autocode for the first computer systems at the institution. After her heavy contributions, Kathleen would go on to retire and still remain active for her own research. Booth would go on to reach 100 years old and, sadly, passed away recently as of September 29th, 2022.
So, in Kathleen Booth's career, she earned her bachelor's degree in math and her PhD in applied mathematics from the University of London. And then in 1942, she worked at the Birkbeck College in a British computer science team, which created some programming languages. And then in 1962, Kathleen became a research fellow at the university in Canada, and she also researched machine translations and neural networks. And then in 1972, she became a professor at Lakeland University, and then she retired in 1978.
Hello, my name is Yasmin Ketter, and I worked on the contributions to computer science slide. Kathleen Booth contributed a lot to computer science. She co-designed one of the first ever operational computers, which she helped build a large portion of the computer's hardware as well as programming software. Kathleen and her husband worked on other computer designs, including the all-purpose electronic computer. Kathleen Booth was credited with the first ever assembly language. Aside from creating the language, she also created the assembler that could convert the language's code into machine language. Kathleen was one of the first people in the world to program software. Aside from working on computers and creating the first ever assembly language, she also published two of the earliest books on computer science and programming. In 1953, Kathleen and her husband co-authored the book Automatic Digital Calculators. Kathleen also published a second book called Programming for an Automatic Digital Calculator in 1959, where she talked about her work on the all-purpose electronic computer. Those were Kathleen Booth's contributions to computer science. Thank you.
The impact of Kathleen's work. In many ways, Kathleen's work was dedicated to making different aspects of the computer science industry a lot more accessible to users. The invention of the ARC served as a Fourier synthesizer, a tool used to create algorithms in the early days of computer science. This was released along with a book explaining to users how to program the computers properly. This made computers appear a lot more beginner-friendly to users. Kathleen also invented the first assembly language. The very first assembly language was used before compilers became complex enough to manage the higher-level coding languages like C. Kathleen's contributions towards the first assembly language helped set the foundation for how low-level programming tasks are executed to this day. Kathleen also had an impact on the perspective of the computer science industry. The computer science industry was largely female-dominated in the 1940s, and it was often trivialized or regarded as tedious. Because of Kathleen's contributions, it helped get the computer science industry taken a lot more seriously by the public.
Kathleen Booth before. In college, she studied BS Mathematics and Chemistry for her first year. As well as that, she was awarded the BS Special Mathematics and won the college prize. She also worked on materials which was used in the aircraft manufacture during war. She was also known as a research assistant when arriving in the United States for the first time with her and her colleagues.
Kathleen Booth after. Kathleen Booth retired from Lakehead in 1978. Her last current paper was published in 1993 at the age of 71, titled Using Neural Nets to Identify Marine Mammals. It was co-authored by Dr. Ian J. M. Booth, her son. She died on September 29, 2022, at the age of 100.